I can't. I'm done. I literally cannot even, and this card will ruin the game. Welcome back, little flexers. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we have a very serious topic that we don't have to deal with in the future, so it's kind of like your laundry. In any case, we have two new cards that were just revealed yesterday morning. They are Rusted Sword and Rusted Shield. Let's take a look at the cards and tell you why people are freaking out about these. First of all is Rusted Shield. This is probably the lesser of two evils. Attach this Pokemon tool to one of your Pokemon that doesn't already have a Pokemon tool attached, but the only Pokemon that you will be attaching it to is Zacian V. The maximum HP of the Zacian V this card is attached to is increased by 70. This is a problem. It brings up Zacian V to having 300 health, and with the new special metal energy removing weakness, it's going to be very difficult for Pokemon to knock this Zacian out. The problem there is that since Zacian V already has an ability that doesn't allow it to be hit by VMAXs, there's not too much left in the format that is going to be able to take out Zacian. But this is not what has drawn the Pokemon community into such a tizzy. It is a Rusted Sword. Rusted Sword, again, an item tool card. Attach this Pokemon tool to one of your Pokemon that doesn't already have a Pokemon tool attached. The attacks of this Zacian V that this card is attached to do an additional 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. I barely feel like I need to say more, but this card brings Zacian's effective possible damage output to 320 damage for a basic for 3 energy. Not to mention that those 3 energy can be accelerated by either ADP's attack or by Metal Saucer, and we have a recipe for disaster. So how do we get to the 320 mark? Well, you have the base damage of the Zacian V doing 230 damage. You have the ADP GX attack doing an additional 30 damage. You have this Rusted Sword item doing an additional 30 damage. That's 290 damage if you've been adding correctly so far. And then finally, the new card in Vivid Voltage, Leon, doing an additional 30 damage. So that is altogether added up 320 damage. And that is absurd for a basic that takes largely minimal effort to get out. It doesn't even take different types of energy. This is 3 energy on a basic Pokemon that can accelerate energy to itself, has all these tools, and a lot of Twitter I've been seeing going crazy over this card, and oh my gosh, it's amazing that they would finally make Zacian a playable card. Zacian V really needed some more support, but this is quite an absurd move from the Pokemon Company, making this card at this point in time. ADP with that boosted attack damage onto everything on the board means that this card is just adding more fuel to the fire, adding more gasoline onto the fire here. And it's absolutely incredible that they would print a card like this right now. VMAX Pokemon were supposed to be safe. VMAX Pokemon were supposed to have too much health to be one-shot by anything other than weakness. And I think this card represents something that is kind of counterintuitive to what I thought the game designers were trying to go for. With the VMAX, I thought the game designers were trying to introduce a level of gameplay that was this kind of back and forth 2-hit KO metagame. And instead, we have Rusted Sword making Zacian able to one-shot the VMAXs without even needing to do it with weakness. And that is very concerning to myself and a lot of players. On the flip side of the argument, this card might not be as bad as we all think, in the sense that we'll get this card in a few months. It maybe won't make that much of an impact on the metagame, and ADP will rotate, and then we'll be in the ideal format for this card. I think a lot of what the game designers might have been thinking about was when ADP does rotate, maybe making Zacian a little bit stronger after you lose the damage boost from the GX attack on ADP. So we could be seeing this card maybe being play tested in a Sword and Shield on metagame, and therefore, you know, again, you're not one-shotting any of the VMAX Pokemon just with the base damage of Brave Blade and this tool attached, so it doesn't really matter all that much. However, we also look at this card being something that will effectively eliminate tag teams from the equation. The biggest tag teams that Zacian had struggles with knocking out were Pikarom with a big charm attached and Raichu. Also pretty difficult for Zacian to knock out with a big charm attached. So this pretty much takes away that advantage that those two tag teams had and really makes it so that no tag team is safe. A plus 30 damage buff is something that we haven't seen in the past. We've had cards like Muscle Band, Fighting Fury Belt, Silver Bangle, or Choice Band doing an additional 30 damage, but it was only to a very specific subset of Pokemon EX or GX, and this Rusted Sword just is a blanket 30 damage anywhere, which is, again, very, very alarming. It's not necessarily that this card exists that I'm worried about, but when you already have all the other tools that Zacian has, to give it a damage boost that only applies to Zacian is really, really concerning, and I am personally a little bit afraid of where the game is going. I think we will weather this. I think there are a lot of cards that people come out and are like, oh my gosh, this is gonna break the game, this is gonna ruin the game, and they end up not ruining the game as much as we thought. A really good recent example was Eternatus. People thought, oh my gosh, that Pokemon has so much health. How is anything going to compete? And oh my gosh, it can do 270 damage for 2 energy. How is anything going to compete? And while Eternatus did have really good results for a long period of time, I don't think anyone would say it was as dominant as the predictions expected. So I'm going to take this card and say, you know what? At the end of the day, we'll just have to see what happens. I would not freak out too much. Signs point to freaking out, but again, until this card can actually be played, until we see it in context, I wouldn't freak out just yet. Does it suck that Zacian has more support than it needs? Yeah, absolutely. Like, I wish they would print these cards that any Pokemon could use, but it's really seeming like they're making Zamazenta and Zacian the kind of focal points of the format, and I don't necessarily love that a two-prizer basic Pokemon can one-shot just about anything in the metagame. That to me is a little bit frightening, a little bit scary, and I thought the game was going in a really good direction with these VMAXs, being able to go into this two-shot metagame and having enough health to survive attacks, but apparently that is not what we are going to see in the future. So let me know what you think of this card down below in the comments. Do you think it is ruining the game? Do you think that we are going to have any shot of having a viable evolution line or evolution set of cards in the metagame where this Rusted Sword exists? Please let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear your opinion. As always, remember, good luck and also have fun.